My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the key. It was small, ordinary, the kind you'd find in any hardware store. Brass, maybe 2 inches long. But the label attached to it, with a faded piece of masking tape, said, Wife 2, in handwriting I recognized instantly. Michael's handwriting, my husband of 11 years. I stood there in our walk-in closet, holding the key, while his winter coats hung around me like silent witnesses. That was 6 months ago, before everything fell apart, before I understood what that key actually meant. Let me back up. We lived in a 4-bedroom colonial in Maple Ridge, a suburb about 30 minutes outside Columbus. The kind of neighborhood where everyone knew your name, where the HOA president sent passive-aggressive emails about lawn height, and where Christmas decorations started appearing in October. We'd bought the house 5 years ago, right after Michael got promoted to regional manager at his insurance firm. I remember the day we closed. I wore a navy dress, and Michael lifted me up and spun me around in the empty living room. I thought we'd done it. We'd made it to the life we were supposed to have. I'm Ashley, by the way. 39. I worked, as a dental hygienist at Riverside Dental, the same practice for 7 years. I'm good at it. People trust me. They tell me things while I'm cleaning their teeth, things they don't tell their therapists. Probably because I'm quiet and I listen and I don't judge. That's who I am. Or who I thought I was. Michael was, the kind of man everyone likes. Tall, charming, genuinely funny without trying too hard. He remembered people's names, asked follow-up questions, made you feel like you mattered. When we'd go to the grocery store, he'd chat with the cashier. At parties, he was the guy everyone wanted to talk to. I used to feel lucky when he looked at me, honestly, like I'd won some invisible lottery. We didn't have kids. We'd tried for a while, back in our early 30s, but nothing stuck. By the time I turned 35, we'd made peace with it. We told ourselves we had freedom, spontaneity, more money for travel, and nice dinners. It's what people say when biology decides for them. Most days I believed it. Our marriage was solid. Not perfect, whose is, but genuinely good. We had our routines. Friday nights were pizza and a movie. Sunday mornings we'd sleep in. Then Michael would make his famous cinnamon French toast. We'd sit on the back patio with coffee, reading our separate sections of the Columbus Dispatch. We took a trip to Cancun for our 10-year anniversary. We had friends over. We paid our mortgage. His credit score was 789. Mine was 801. We were the kind of couple you'd look at and think, yeah, they've got it figured out. The truth is, I was happy. Genuinely, quietly happy in the way that doesn't feel like much until it's gone. Michael traveled sometimes, 4-5 days a month for client meetings, regional conferences, that kind of thing. He'd drive to Cincinnati, Cleveland, sometimes fly out to Pittsburgh or Detroit. Insurance is boring, but it pays well. His company was based in Columbus, but had offices all over Ohio and western Pennsylvania. I never thought twice about it. He'd call me from the road, text me photos of boring hotel rooms. Once he sent me a picture of a truly terrible hotel breakfast buffet with the caption, "This is why I'm marrying you again when I get home." That was the kind of thing he said. In September, his 401k needed to be rebalanced, and I was doing some paperwork in his office at home. Nothing weird. I did the household finances, mostly. I was looking for his investment statement, and I noticed his desk drawer was slightly open. There was a lockbox in there, one of those small metal things you'd keep important documents in. It had a key taped underneath. I know. This is where people always say, I shouldn't have looked. But it was my house. I was looking for financial information about our retirement. I wasn't snooping, that's what I told myself. The key opened it. Inside were documents I didn't recognize. Property deed to an address I didn't know. In Michael's name only. In Westlake, Ohio, about 40 minutes away. Medical insurance forms made out to Michael Chen and family. A utility bill. And then, this is what made my stomach drop, a photo. Michael, smiling, his arm around a woman I'd never seen. She was Asian, pretty, younger than me, maybe mid-30s. They were standing in front of a house I didn't own. And then I found the key. It was in a small manila envelope at the bottom of the box, with the label Wife 2 written in his handwriting. I sat there on his office chair for maybe 20 minutes. Just sat there. Not crying yet. Not angry yet. Just completely, totally confused. My brain wouldn't process what I was seeing. Maybe it was a prank? Some kind of sick joke he was planning to reveal? Maybe he was writing a screenplay or something and these were props? I was reaching, I know. But I actually couldn't, let myself think about what it meant. That's when I heard his truck pull into the driveway. I don't know why I did this, but I put everything back. The deed, the insurance forms, the photo. I closed the lockbox, put it back in the drawer, and took the key with me. I still don't know why I didn't just confront him right then. I think maybe it was self-preservation. As long as I didn't say anything out loud, it wasn't real. As long as I didn't ask him, he couldn't confirm it. Michael came in through the garage door, calling out, "Hey babe, you home?" "In the office," I called back. My voice sounded normal. I was amazed at that. He appeared in the doorway with his usual smile, carrying a briefcase and a coffee from our favorite place, Keurig's Cafe, the one on Main Street. "Got you a cold brew," he said. "Thought you might be working." "Thanks," I said. I took the coffee. Our fingers touched for a second. "How was work?" he asked. "Fine, normal. Mrs. Patterson's gum health is improving." I sounded like myself. I couldn't believe it. "How was your day?" "Long, boring, nothing interesting." He kissed the top of my head. "I'm going to change and hit the gym. That okay?" "Of course," I said. He left. I sat there holding the key and the cold brew, feeling like I was watching myself from above, like this was happening to someone else. That night, he came home smelling like sweat and his cologne. We ordered Thai food from the place on 4th Street. We ate on the couch and watched a rerun of The Office. His hand rested on my thigh. Everything was normal. Everything was a lie. And I had a key labeled Wife 2 that I couldn't stop thinking about. I didn't sleep that night. I lay next to Michael, listening to him breathe, feeling the warmth of his body against mine, and I couldn't stop thinking about the key. It was in my purse, downstairs in the kitchen, and the weight of it felt like it was pressing down on my chest from across the house. Around 3 in the morning, I got up and went to the bathroom. I sat on the edge of the tub with my phone, hands shaking, and did something I'd never done before. I Googled the address from the deed. Westlake, Ohio, 4847 Hickory Lane. Street view showed a small ranch house, white with dark shutters, a mailbox, a driveway, a normal house, the kind you'd drive past 1,000 times and never think twice about. It looked happy. There were planters by the front door, colorful ones, the kind you'd find at a garden center. I felt sick. I went back to bed and lay there until dawn, my mind racing through possibilities. Maybe it was an investment property? But why would he label a key Wife 2? Why would there be insurance forms with his name and family? Why the photo? At 7, Michael's alarm went off. He got up, showered, came back smelling like his usual expensive cologne. I watched him from bed as he got dressed. Navy slacks, a light blue button-down, his work watch. He looked like the man I'd married. He looked like the same person. "You're up early," he said, noticing my open eyes. "Couldn't sleep," I said. It wasn't a lie. "Bad dream?" He sat on the edge of the bed and kissed my forehead. The gesture made me want to scream. "Something like that." "You okay?" He touched my cheek. His hand was warm. I almost cracked right there, almost told him what I'd found. But something stopped me. Some instinct that said, "Don't play this wrong. Don't give him time to prepare or explain or lie." "I'm fine, just tired." "Maybe you need a day off. Take a mental health day?" "Maybe," I said. He left for work at 7:30. I listened to his truck back out of the driveway. Then I sat in the kitchen with coffee I couldn't drink and made a decision. I called in sick to Riverside Dental. My boss, Dr. Patterson, was sympathetic. I never called in sick. In 7 years, I'd taken maybe 3 days. Take care of yourself, she said. We'll cover your patients. Then I got in my car and I drove to Westlake. The drive took 43 minutes. I know because I was watching the time, watching the miles, trying to convince myself this was real. The route took me through Columbus, past strip malls and chain restaurants, out into the newer suburbs where the houses got bigger and farther apart. Hickory Lane was tree-lined and quiet. I drove past 4847 slowly, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break my ribs. The house looked exactly like the street view photo. The planters were there, and in the driveway was a car, a silver Toyota Camry, with a car seat visible through the rear window. A car seat. I pulled over a few houses down, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. A car seat. Which meant there was a child. There was a baby or a kid, and Michael had. I don't know how long I sat there. Long enough for another car to come down the street and slow down, the driver probably wondering if I was stalking the house, or casing it, or having some kind of breakdown in my sedan. I must have looked insane. Then the front door of the house opened. A woman stepped out. The same woman from the photo, but older, looking in real life. She was holding a toddler. A boy, maybe 2 or 3 years old, with dark hair and Michael's chin. Michael's chin. I watched as she buckled the kid into the car seat I'd seen. She was humming something, I could tell even from where I was parked. She looked happy, settled, like this was her normal Tuesday morning. She drove past me without looking. I didn't exist to her. I was just another car parked on a suburban street. I drove home in a daze. I don't remember the drive. I remember thinking that I had to be careful, that I had to think clearly, that I couldn't let panic take over, but also that my entire life had been a performance. Every Friday night, pizza was a lie. Every Sunday morning, French toast was a lie. Every "I love you" was a lie. When I got home, I went to his office. I opened the lockbox again. The photo was still there, Michael and the woman in front of the house. And now I understood it. This wasn't a secret property or a side investment. This was his other life, his real life, the one with the kid, the one where he was a husband and a father. And I was wife one, an earlier model, a mistake that hadn't been fully deleted. I made an appointment with a divorce attorney named Linda Cartwright. She had an office in a professional building downtown, 3rd floor, right next to a dental practice that I'd never go to again. I wore my best dress, the navy one I'd worn the day we closed on the house. I needed to feel strong, even though I felt like I was coming apart at the seams. Linda was in her 50s, blonde, with the kind of face that had seen a lot of people's worst days. She didn't seem shocked by anything I told her. She took notes. She asked questions. She explained terms I didn't understand. Equitable distribution, spousal support, 401k division. "How long has he been with the other woman?" she asked. "I don't know," I said. "I found evidence yesterday. But it could have been years. Do you have documentation?" I nodded. I'd taken photos of everything with my phone. The deed, the insurance forms, even a copy of the photo, though I'd had to stop halfway through photographing it because my hands were shaking too badly. Linda sat back. "Okay," she said. "This is going to be difficult, but we have options. I'm going to need you to gather more information. Bank statements, credit card bills, anything that shows where money is going. Has he been taking trips you didn't account for?" "He travels for work," I said. But nothing. In my experience, when a man has a second family, the money trail doesn't lie. Check your joint accounts. Look at his personal accounts if you have access. I need documentation of everything. I nodded. It was happening. This was actually happening. "What about the house?" I asked. "Community property," Linda said. "You're entitled to half the equity, assuming you live in an equitable distribution state. Ohio is equitable distribution. So is his 401k, his pension if he has one, any assets acquired during the marriage. But we need to move fast, and we need to be smart. What do you mean, move fast? Once you file, he'll know. He might try to hide assets, move money, liquidate retirement accounts. People do desperate things when they're caught. Desperate. The word hung in the air between us. I drove home from that appointment, feeling like I was moving through water. Everything was slow and heavy and wrong. The sun was too bright. The radio was too loud. The world kept pretending to be normal, when actually everything had ended. Michael texted me at 3 o'clock. "Working late tonight. Got a big client meeting. Don't wait up." I stared at that message for a long time. Working late, or driving to Westlake, or reading bedtime stories to a child who had his chin, or kissing a woman who had planters by her front door. I went to his office computer while he was still at work. I knew his password. It was his mother's maiden name and the year we got married. Karen 1987. He'd never changed it. He'd never thought I'd look. I found the receipts in a folder called Insurance, gas station receipts from Westlake, restaurant charges in Westlake, a Target in Westlake, all dating back almost 4 years. 4 years. 4 years of lying to me, right in front of my face. I downloaded everything onto a USB drive. Then I sat on the floor of his office and I cried. Not the kind of crying where you make noise. The kind where you just sit there and let your body fall apart while your mind stays absolutely still. He came home at 11 that night, smelling like cologne and the faint scent of a woman's perfume. "Hey," he said, finding me in the kitchen. "You still up?" I didn't answer. I just looked at him. This man I'd loved. This man I'd built a life with. This man who had apparently been building a completely different life, with someone else, in a house I'd never been to, with a child I'd never met. "Ashley," he said, "you okay?" "No," I said. "No, I'm not okay." He set down his briefcase. His face changed. It got careful. "What's wrong?" I reached into my pocket and placed the key on the kitchen counter. The one labeled Wife 2. His face went completely white. "Who is she?" I asked. "And what is his name?" Michael's jaw clenched. He looked at the key like it was a bomb that had just landed in our kitchen. For the first time in 11 years, I had no idea what he was going to do. "Ashley," he started. "Don't," I said. "Just tell me the truth." He ran his hand through his hair. He sat down at the kitchen table like his legs had given out. "Her name is Jennifer," he said finally. "And our son is named Brandon. He's 3. 3 years. My mind did the math. That meant Michael had started seeing Jennifer while he was still celebrating our 10-year anniversary, while he was still buying me cold brew at Keurig's Cafe, while he was still calling me from hotel rooms and texting me photos of terrible buffets. "How long?" I asked. "Ashley." "How long?" 3.5 years, he said quietly. I walked out of the kitchen and up the stairs to our bedroom. I locked the door. I sat on the bed we'd shared every night for 11 years, and I understood something with absolute clarity. I didn't know this man at all. None of it had been real. Or all of it had been real, but there had been so much more underneath. So much darkness I'd never even suspected. The next morning, I served Michael divorce papers. Michael didn't fight the divorce. That was the part that hurt almost as much as the affair itself. The fact that he just accepted it. Like he'd been waiting for this moment. Like he'd already grieved our marriage years ago while I was still living in it. Linda Cartwright moved fast. Within 2 weeks, she had subpoenas issued for his bank records, his email, everything. What we found was methodical, almost clinical in its deception. 4 years of bi-weekly transfers to Jennifer, $2,000 every other Friday, deposited into an account I'd never seen. A second mortgage on the Westlake house that he'd taken out without my knowledge. Life insurance with Jennifer listed as beneficiary. A whole financial architecture of betrayal, built brick by brick while I was cleaning teeth and planning dinners. The numbers made me physically ill. Over 4 years, he'd transferred nearly $200,000 to Jennifer. Our 401k had contributions he'd hidden. There was a college fund for Brandon that had already accrued $18,000. He's been planning this for a long time, Linda said, reviewing the documents in her office. This isn't a mistake. This is a calculated decision to maintain two separate lives. I sat across from her, numb. Why didn't he just leave? Because, Linda said quietly, some men want to have both. The stability of a wife at home and the excitement of a second family. They think they can compartmentalize forever. Until they can't. Michael moved out of the house on a Tuesday in October. I watched from the bedroom window as he loaded boxes into a U-Haul truck. He moved slowly, deliberately, like a man performing a ceremony. He didn't try to talk to me. He knew better. His lawyer had instructed him not to. But the night before he left, he came to me in the kitchen. I was making tea, and he appeared in the doorway like a ghost. "Ashley," he said, "I know there's nothing I can say." "You're right," I interrupted. "There isn't. Brandon is a good kid. He deserves." "Don't," I said. My hands were shaking. "Don't you dare talk to me about that child. Don't you dare bring him into this conversation as if he's some kind of justification for what you've done." Michael's face crumpled. For a second, I saw something in him that looked like genuine remorse. And I hated that I could still see it, still recognize something human in him, because it meant I couldn't just write him off as a monster. He was a man. A weak man. A selfish man. But still a man. "I never wanted to hurt you," he said. "And yet," I said, turning back to my tea, "here we are." He left without another word. The divorce hearing was scheduled for December. 3 months of discovery, depositions, negotiations. 3 months of my life being dissected by lawyers and accountants. They wanted to know about our marriage, our assets, our hopes. They wanted to know when we'd stopped sleeping in the same bed. We hadn't. That was the worst part. We'd slept together almost every night of those 3.5 years, and he was living an entire other life. A week before the hearing, Dr. Patterson pulled me into her office. She'd noticed I was struggling. I'd been making mistakes, spacing out during procedures, calling Mrs. Patterson by the wrong name. "Ashley," she said, closing the door, "you need to take some time, real time, not just a day here and there." "I need to work," I said. "I need the distraction." "You need to heal," she said firmly. "I'm putting you on a 3-month leave of absence, paid. That's not a discussion. You've been here 7 years and you've never asked for anything. I'm giving you this. Take it." I almost cried right there in her office. The kindness, after months of betrayal, was almost unbearable. The day of the hearing, I wore the navy dress again. The same one I'd worn to close on the house. The same one I'd worn to Linda's office. It was my armor. I sat in the courtroom next to Linda, watching Michael sit with his lawyer on the other side. He wouldn't look at me. The judge was a woman named Richardson, probably in her 60s, with gray hair and reading glasses on a chain. She looked tired, like she'd heard 1,000 versions of this same story. "Mr. Chen," she said, addressing Michael, "you've agreed to the terms of the settlement?" "I have, Your Honor," Michael said quietly. The settlement was brutal, but fair. Michael would pay me $180,000, my half of the equity in the house, plus spousal support for 3 years while I got back on my feet. The 401k would be split. I would keep the house. He would keep the Westlake property. No alimony beyond the 3 years. But I'd gotten the medical insurance, and he'd agreed to pay my attorney fees. "And do you understand the terms regarding disclosure of assets?" the judge asked. "I do," Michael said. "Let the record show that Mr. Chen has agreed to full financial transparency going forward, and that any undisclosed assets will result in contempt of court." Michael's lawyer whispered something to him. He nodded. The whole thing took 40 minutes. When it was over, Michael stood to leave. For the first time in the hearing, he looked at me. Our eyes met across the courtroom, and in that moment, I saw something I'd been terrified to see. He looked relieved, like a weight had been lifted, like he could finally stop pretending. That was when I understood that I had never really known him at all. 2 weeks later, Jennifer showed up at my house. I was in the backyard, trying to do something normal, pull some weeds, pretend life wasn't in pieces, when I heard the doorbell. I almost didn't answer it, but something made me. She was smaller in person than she'd been in the photo, tired looking. She was holding Brandon, who had Michael's chin and dark eyes, and those eyes were looking at me with the uncomplicated curiosity of a 3-year-old. "I'm sorry to come here," Jennifer said quickly, before I could close the door. Michael didn't know I was coming, but I needed to. I needed to say something. "You need to leave," I said flatly. "I know you hate me," she said, "and you have every right to. But I want you to know that I didn't know at first. I didn't know about you, not for the first year." "That doesn't change anything," I said. "I know," she said, and she started crying. "I know it doesn't. But when I found out, I wanted to end it. I told Michael we had to tell you, that we couldn't keep doing this. But he said you didn't want kids, that your marriage was already over, that he'd filed for divorce, but it was taking time." I felt the ground shift beneath me. "That's a lie." "I know that now," Jennifer said, tears running down her face. "I know he lied to both of us, and I'm so sorry. I'm so, so sorry for my part in it, even if I didn't know the full truth." Brandon reached toward me, his small hand opening and closing, a gesture of nothing, of childhood innocence. I couldn't look at him. "You should go," I said. "I'm sorry," Jennifer said again. "For what it's worth, I think what he did was unforgivable, and I think you're right to hate him." She left. I closed the door and I stood in my foyer, in the house I'd bought with a man who didn't exist, and I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, never forgiveness, but something like completion, like a story that had finally ended. 3 months later, I went back to work. Dr. Patterson welcomed me back with flowers on my station. My regular patients had missed me. Mrs. Patterson, whose gum health had been improving, asked if everything was okay. "I'm fine," I told her. And I meant it. Michael and Jennifer got married in the spring. I found out from Facebook, not from him. He posted a photo of them at City Hall, Brandon in a little suit, everyone smiling. I looked at it for exactly 5 seconds, then I unfollowed him. Every version of him, Facebook, Instagram, the memories in my phone. I deleted them systematically, like removing a tattoo. The divorce was finalized on March 15th. I got a call from Linda confirming the details. After 3 months of spousal support, I'd be on my own, but I'd have the house and my half of the retirement accounts. I'd be okay. I drove past the Westlake house once, about 6 months after the divorce. I don't know why. Maybe to confirm it was real. The planters by the front door had been replaced with new ones, bright red impatiens. The driveway had a tricycle in it, a normal family doing normal things. I never went back. What I learned, in the end, is that you can live with someone for 11 years and not know them at all. That the person you think you married can be a complete fiction. That the life you thought you had can be a performance, and you're the only one in the audience who believed it was real. The key labeled Wife 2 is still in my jewelry box. I don't know why I kept it. Sometimes I take it out and I hold it, and I remember the moment I found it, standing in my closet, surrounded by Michael's winter coats, feeling like the walls were closing in. That key unlocked more than a house. It unlocked the truth about who I'd married and who I actually was. A woman strong enough to walk away. I never did find out what that key opened.